Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is my Week 8 team builder and battle for the MPL Major Pokemon League. We're going up against our good pal, the Uzi Gunner, coach of the Bullet Punch Club. Please go check him out. He's a fellow GBA type person. He was the analyst for the series Trainer Cards this past GBA Season 8, and did a really good job. He really crushed it, and a lot of people were really impressed with him. Uzi was super close to making D-League. I'm really bummed that he wasn't able to make it. He would have been a really good addition to the league. And, lucky for us, we do get to face him here in MPL. So we don't miss the opportunity to battle him. Last time we played was in Summer Showdown, I believe, 2017. The Token Minorities tournament that took place over in June or July last summer. I'm pretty sure it was. I don't think it was March Madness. It was either March Madness or Summer Showdown. That's obviously the two main tours that Token Minorities do. But we got a really lucky W versus him. I had a setup Mence that I was able to get, I think, to +2. And even though he had Weavile on his team, it wasn't running Ice Shard for some reason. And so once I got set up, he couldn't stop Mence. So it was just an oversight and prep on his part. Those games, you don't have a lot of time to prepare, so I don't blame him for just making a mistake like that. But I'm sure he's out to prove himself in this game. He wants to even the score, and he's got the squad to do it. As you can see, he has Scolipede, Mega Gallade, Thunderous T, Frogadier, Kyurem. He's got Crocodile, Melodic, Clefable, Delmice, Bronzong, and Lickitung. Those are not the order in which he drafted them. That's the order of the speed tiers. Just in case you're wondering, if there's a round 4 Frogadier coming out from Uzi, there was not. Don't worry. But he has a lot of offensive threats, of course. Gallade being one of them, Scolipede being another. Kyurem is also extremely annoying because not only does it have incredible attack capabilities on both sides, physical and special, it has the ability to run bulky sets with Sub and Roost, and I don't have a lot of great ways to threaten that, which is very spooky. He's got a lot of good Zard checks. He's got Melodic, he's got Crook. Clefable to some extent is a decent Zard check because it can run unaware, but it does not take Flare Blitzes very well if it's physically defensive. Even if I am uninvested, which I am this week, Clefable does not deal with Zard's Flare Blitz extremely well. Maybe if he's some sort of weird set is it Keyberry that boosts the defense? Or is it Moringa Berry? I don't remember. It's one of the two. Maybe if he's a cheeky set like that, it'll work. But otherwise he's got good checks to Zard. So it's a tough matchup. But I've tried to build a team for the team of 6 that I think he's going to bring. I'm going to try and go through this team builder in 4 or 5 minutes because I am going to do the battle immediately after this. Basically, I am running short on time. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I leave tomorrow to catch a plane down to Maryland to help my mom move out of her house. Long story short, parents no longer together, can't afford the house. So she has a nice new condo that she's moving into, and so I'm going to be helping out with that and providing moral support. So that's my sob story for the day. I don't want to dwell too much on it because I doubt you guys are that interested. So let's look at the team. And we are going to start off with our Zard. It's a Spadef Zard with Toxic Roost and Dual Stab. So Spadef makes a lot of sense because Thundy is a big threat versus my team. And this gives me a pretty decent switch in to set up variants of Thundy. Because he doesn't have a super strong move to hit me. He's not Z, so he can't run Z Focus Blast or anything like that to try and bot me for as much damage as possible. Hidden Power Ice does not hit me that hard because I, of course, am neutral to it, rather than most Dragon types being weak to it. So that's quite nice. Toxic is there to try and catch Unaware Clefable, to try and catch Melodic before it gets off a Flame Orb, to get damage off on Crocodile if it's a defensive set. And it's just a good pivot into some other mons on his team. I don't remember all off the top of my head, but Bronzong, Frogadier even is a pretty decent switch in versus Clefable. That's not packing T-Wave, Lickitung, even Scolipede. It can probably take one if needed. So that's the Charizard set. I'm running my favorite set of Serp, Subseed. We're running just Leaf Storm coverage this week. because he doesn't really have many great ways to deal with it. He does, of course, have Dhelmise, which he could bring to help shut down a sub-seed set with Leaf Storm as its only coverage. But I'm thinking that Dhelmise might not come because my Zard is basically a free switch-in versus it if I don't have rocks up on my side of the field, or if Zard is already Mega Evolved and doesn't take as much damage from rocks. So we have max speed on this thing in order to outspeed Scolipede. So pretty straightforward set. Next, we have a Metagross that is specially defensive. We've got a little bit of speed investment on this thing to outspeed Melodic, which could come in handy. Might not be the most critical, but you know, if we need to 2-hit KO it with Zen Headbutt or something, it would be nice to be able to do that. We have Rocks because Rocks is very annoying to his team. He's got Scolipede, Thundurus, Kyurem that are all weak to it, and just helps get chip damage on things like Melodic, which is otherwise a problem for the team. Yeah, and like the dual stabs, like doesn't hit Bronzong, but hits pretty much everything else pretty hard. Next, we've got a pretty cool Crobat set, one that I like quite a bit. It's a stall-breaking Crobat with Taunt Super Fang. So even if he has like a Melodic with Scald and it burns me, I can pretty easily whittle it down with Taunt Super Fang, get it to the point where Brave Bird can potentially take it out, and I can roost up on turns when I'm getting low. This is a very good switch into Clefable that's not packing T-Wave. He is not that likely to be packing Thunderbolt coverage to try and hit me. So we can easily switch in on Moonblasts and then prevent it from doing dumb stuff like Cosmic Power and Calm Mind and stuff like that. It's also got very good defensive typing for dealing with Scolipede, so that's a big reason that we have it. If he's like a sub-pass Scolipede or something like that, like which he couldn't be with Speed Boost, but he could be Poison Point sub-pass, who knows. I can help break through that. I can break through sub-Gallade with Infiltrator. So yeah, Crobat with a bulky spread like this was just a really nice bring, I thought. I'm pretty proud of this one. Next, we have an Assault Vest Donphan. Excuse me, standard looking set. I want to be able to have a good switch into Thundurus. I want the ability to remove hazards. I want Knockoff for dealing with Dhelmise that's trying to spin block versus me. And I want Ice Shard for helping to revenge kill things like Thundurus and stuff like that. So pretty standard looking set. Then last but not least, we do have a Black Glasses Greninja with Spikes and Taunt. So I do have quite a bit of Taunt on this team, and I do have quite a bit of Toxic on this team. So it's like it's a good stall breaking squad. Like I don't say, like, I'm not trying to say like he's going to bring a stall team versus me. I'm just expecting a lot of checks to things like Zard and to into Superior and things like that. And so a good way to deal with those sorts of mons is Taunt and Toxic. So dual stabs is pretty much enough to deal with his whole team. I could be packing some other coverage like Low Kick to hit Kyurem a little bit harder, but Dark Pulse already hits it pretty hard since his Black Glasses boosted. And Spikes is just really good for pressuring his team. Again, if he wants to bring some walls versus me, like Crocodile or Melodic, those are all going to take Spikes damage upon switch-in. Unaware, Clefable is going to take damage from switch-in. Like, Unaware, just to deal with a combination of Serp and Zard, just makes so much sense to me in this matchup. So, I thought that Hazard Stack was a good option. So that's the team, folks. Now let's pivot on into the battle. And as you can see, Uzi has brought Crocodile, Kyurem, Thundy, Frogadier, Dhelmise, and Gallade. So I'm a little surprised not to see any of the bulkier ones like Clefable or Melodic. I thought that he would have brought at least one of them. But he does have the Crocodile there, which makes a lot of sense. That's going to be his best way of dealing with Zard, without a doubt. Nothing else on the team takes any moves particularly well. Thundy is really scary. Dhelmise, I mentioned that I didn't 100% expect it because I think it's a pretty good switch in for Zard, assuming that hazards don't get up. But, you know, having that there does make sense for dealing with Serp and for spin blocking and things like that. And then Gallade, I did expect. Gallade's just spooky in general. I'm fortunate in that a lot of my team outspeeds it. But, you know, if that thing starts boosting, it's going to be hard to stop. So, that said, my lead matchup of choice here is Greninja, because versus a lot of the things on his team, it actually does pretty well. Like, it outspeeds Crocodile, Gallade, it can threaten a Dhelmise with super effective coverage, it can smack Frogadier extremely hard, because Frogadier is not a dark type, it is only a water type. If it's a non-Scarf Thundy, we do threaten that. And versus Kyurem, that's a little spookier, but I think as long as he's not like a Specs variant, we do have Metagross to switch in fairly reliably to it. So Greninja overall seemed really good. If he leads a Mon that we can threaten immediately, we're just going to click Spike right away. If he doesn't, then we're going to go into our designated check to a different Mon. So let's hit play. This one's quite a long one. And so we're going to play it on 1.5 times speed. Hope you guys are looking forward to that. There's a few moments where the game stutters due to my recording. I was recording this game at like 1 a.m. and I wasn't going to stop and try and get it perfect because I just did not have the time. So Crocodile comes out versus my Greninja. Pretty much the situation that I was hoping for. Allows me to get up a Spike for free. And he does go into his Kyurem. So I don't know exactly what kind of Kyurem this is yet, but it makes sense that he wants to bring this thing in on a potential Water-type move. Having U-turn in that situation would obviously be nice, because then I could go, U-turn into Metagross instead of clicking Spike. But I like having the Spike to pressure his team. I go into my Metagross, and he predicts that, going for Hidden Power Fire. That suggests that he's max special attack, but not a boosting item. Not Expert Belt, not Choice Specs, or anything like that. And I am going to go into my Metagross. Now, this is kind of a misplay. I double into my Charizard on the Kyurem because I thought Delmice might be coming in. Because Delmice can spin pretty freely on Metagross, and if I do want to set up rocks, having the Delmice in immediately makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, Crocodile makes a decent bit of sense as a switch in to Metagross, especially if he's physically defensive like I expect him to be. So I get my Zard in versus the Crocodile. I don't really want to stay in on it, and there are first turn Mega Rules in this league. So I couldn't like stay in regular form predicting the Earthquake and just try and go for a move versus him. I have to switch out to my Serp and give him the free opportunity to set up rocks. So that was like 6 turns ago at this point. So let's talk about what we see here. We do see the Delmice coming in versus my Serperior. It is suggesting that this is an Assault Vest Delmice. I know Google goes back and forth between calling it Delmice and Delmice, but I don't know what the hell is the right one. You guys are going to have to tell me, because I really don't know. This thing is trying to go for Anchor Shot and trap me in here, which is no bueno, to quote my good pal, Old Man Tup. I'm going to go into my Crobat, because if this is a max attack Delmice, it's only going to be doing about 50% to me. And I am going to be able to, of course, easily threaten it out with Brave Bird, and then take advantage of that to go for a Roost. He is going to bring in my Thundy, which is quite threatening to me, so I'm going to switch on out into my Donphan. The thing about Thundy and like Mons like Thundy, Zapdos, Tapu Koko, is that they all get U-turn, and so trying to go into a ground type to deal with them just really doesn't do that great of a job. It's extremely, extremely annoying. So he's able to U-turn and get himself into a favorable position going into the Frogadier, going for Hydro Pump, does a decent chunk of damage, reveals that he is Life Orb, but my Serperior is max HP, so it takes it quite well, if I do say so myself. I am going to double because he should be going into the Delmice once again, or he could potentially be going into something like Kyurem. That would be worse, but he makes a read of all reads and goes into Thundy, so hats off for that play. I'm in such I have so little momentum right now that I make a really bold play and leave in my Bat versus the Thundy, because he's 9 times out of 10, if I'm in that position, I am going to click U-turn. But if I just need to gain the momentum back. I feel like I'm trapped in the vortex, and so I get pretty fortunate. I get the play correct, and I get off a Roost versus this Crobat. He's going to go for a knockoff versus me. The damage reveals that he's not very offensive investment, most likely. Getting rid of my Sky Plate is a little annoying, and it will come into play a little bit later, which we can talk about when the time gets there. But I'm going to go into my Donphan, because Donphan isn't really going to be that threatened by Crook. Having my Assault Vest knocked off would be annoying, but it is looking like it's a Scarf's Thundurus at this point. So, having the Assault Vest isn't as useful necessarily, because either he's going to U-turn, or he is going to lock himself into Thunderbolt, and then my Donphan can switch pretty easily in on Thunderbolt. I go for knockoff, anticipating the Delmice. I ends up killing the Frogadier instead. He brings his Kyurem in and is obviously going to go for probably a Dragon move. Turns out he goes for Hidden Power. It looks like Hidden Power Fire. because that's what he used to hit my Metagross for super effective damage. So it's not like HP Ice, which obviously wouldn't make sense on the Kyurem, but it's not like another weird hidden power is what I'm trying to say. He actually preserves his Kyurem and goes into his Thundi. I probably would have just gone into for the move to kill my Superior. I go for U-turn here, trying to get myself up to a decent amount of HP. But I calc in there earlier, there's no way that I'm going to be able to survive U-turn, even if he is minus attack nature. I think maybe if he had 0 IVs, he would have a chance to not kill me. But, there's not a major foul play user on my team. It didn't really make sense to run 0 IVs in attack. It makes sense just to have that little bit of investment instead. That was a tough play, because, like, Superior was pretty good in the match. Once the Delmise goes down, but it's like, okay, what can I sack? Like, I don't want to sack Gren, because Gren is the best way I have for dealing with this Crocodile. I don't want to sack the Crobat if I can help it, because it's my best way of dealing with Gallade, and like once Kyurem goes down, I can kind of taunt Roost versus all of his team, which is pretty nice, and Super Fang everything. So like, in the moment, Superior seemed like the weakest option. So I do have my Greninja here going for Dark Pulse versus the Kyurem. He showed the Protect on Crocodile to sort of scout out what move I was going to go for, but I did just choose to go for the Dark Pulse instead of trying to click Hydro Pump on the Crocodile that was in front of me. I go into Metagross, and he actually goes for Roost, so this is sort of the situation that I was fearing. It's extremely annoying. So I decide that I really need to get on my rocks as soon as possible. On this turn, I did think the Delmise was going to come in, and so I try and Toxic it, but he instead goes into the Thundurus, which is a fair enough play. It resists the Meteor Mash, but I bet Meteor Mash still would have done like 30 or 40%. So he's doing a really good job of making the right aggressive reads with this Thundurus, and he's able to do that because I don't have up rocks. So as he U-turns, I do finally set up rocks on this turn. He's going to be forced to spin, which is going to put me in a position where I can actually 2-hit KO him with Meteor Mash. So I'm going to anticipate the Rapid Spin here, go for Meteor Mash, and darn it, we miss. So this was extremely annoying because now he like got his spin completely for free. Like, I wanted to punish him for going for Rapid Spin, but I wasn't able to do that. And once I get rid of the Delmise, Metagross can fairly easily deal with, like, he can come in on Kyurem, or he could come in on Kyurem and set up rocks later in the game. But now I took a fat Shadow Claw to the face. I cannot going to be able to live a Hidden Power Fire from the Kyurem. So it just puts me in a really crappy situation. I'm not going to be able to get these hazards up very easily. So I decide that it's going to be better for me to get up rocks than to preserve my Metagross, most likely. And so I decide that I'm going to continually spam Stealth Rock. But as adamant as I am about getting up rocks, Uzi is just as adamant about preventing rocks. So he continues to go for Rapid Spin. This goes on for like 5 or 6 turns, honestly. But it's kind of working out for me because it's letting my Metagross get up to a range of HP where it can actually take one hit from Kyurem and set up rocks if I'm able to get rid of this Delmise. So I say, okay, I'm getting to a comfortable range of HP. Let me try and like whittle this thing down with my Metagross. So I go for Toxic. The nice thing here is that there is no hazards up on the field. So if I go for Stealth Rock, he has to go for Rapid Spin and spin them away. Or if I go for Stealth Rock, he's going to take Shadow Claw damage, and then, or he'll do Shadow Claw damage to me, and then he'll eventually die. So having the Toxic off is good because it's more forcing his hand a little bit. And all the while, like I said, I'm getting leftovers recovery. So my Metagross is not completely worthless here. I wonder if that played a little bit into his calculus here. Like, he messaged me immediately when I missed the Meteor Mash and said, I'm really sorry. So maybe he was sort of just spamming Rapid Spin to feel a little bit better about himself, you know, in terms of like getting lucky versus me. And not that it was like a game-changing miss, but it did sort of rob some of the momentum that I had gotten back up to that point. So I decided to go into my Greninja as the Delmise is going to go down because I guess I wanted to prevent like his Crocodile from coming in, which doesn't really make sense in retrospect because his Thundurus could basically just come in for free. So was it the best play? Not sure. But luckily for me, my Greninja actually can survive the U-turn. And so it allows me to get up a layer of spikes. I can now go into my Metagross. I can survive the Hidden Power Fire. And I can go for the Stealth Rock. So even though it's going to cost me my Greninja and my Metagross, I do finally have up Hazards. It's going to prevent him from abusing Thundurus and Kyurem for any longer in the match. It took us going from 5-4 down to 3-4. So was it worth it? Not totally clear. But now I can go to my Zard, and like nothing really wants to switch in on a Zard taking Dragon Claw plus Rocks plus Spikes. Like it should even kill Crocodile. So I click Dragon Claw, he goes into the tank, and I'm like, wait a second, he's going to be Habanberry, isn't he? And god damn it, he was Habanberry. He's able to take that Dragon Claw with ease, and he's going to be able to go for Dragon Pulse and take me out. So I don't think I had another play at that point. I only have Crobat and Donphan in the back. So I couldn't have gone into one of those Mons and tried to threaten this Kyurem. I guess I could have gone for Brave Bird damage first with Crobat, but in hope that he kills me. But he kind of has no reason not to just Roost Stall. I do have Taunt, but it's hard to go for Taunt versus a freaking Kyurem because he's got ways to hit me super effectively. Thundy comes back in after the Kyurem does go down. This is a tough turn because you have to wonder, is he going to U-turn or is he going to go for T-Bolt? He does go for T-Bolt, and because I know he's choiced, he's not going to be able to stay in. My best play is to click EQ to try and get big damage off on the Gallade, or potentially get off some damage on this Crocodile that's coming in. And so, it comes in, takes a pretty decent chunk, has leftovers. This is kind of an interesting sequence of plays. I could have potentially killed him here with Earthquake, but I did want to get off the Rapid Spin to give my Crobat as much HP as possible upon coming in. I thought maybe he might go for Protect to get up the most amount of leftovers possible. But he ended up not doing that, which is totally fair. So we were able to get the Crook dead and get off the Rapid Spin. But it's at the cost of a very weakened Donphan. So at this point, if his Gallade has Ice Punch, he extremely easily sweeps me. And that's kind of what I'm fearing here. Even like Zen Headbutt at this point would sweep because Crobat is so weakened. He does go for Bulk Up, and so Bulk Up is actually not a horrible situation for me because I can go for this Brave Bird here. I can do a pretty good chunk of damage. If I was Skyplate, if I still had my Skyplate intact, that might have won me the game. Because even if I didn't kill this Gallade, I would put the Gallade in range of Ice Shard. But as it is, basically I had to hope for a crit with the Brave Bird, which I did not get. And then here I have to hope for the crit with the Ice Shard, which I also do not get. And this Gallade is going to be able to survive. It's going to be able to take me out with Drain Punch. And it's going to give Uzi a 2-0 victory. So this is another game where the timer went very close to the bottom. It was like less than 10 minutes left. I want to say it was almost 5 minutes left. And geez, this game was just like such a grind and like so back and forth. Like he did such a good job of maintaining his hazards and maintaining pressure on my team the whole time. I had to make some reads just to stay in the game, just to keep up momentum, like staying in with the Crobat versus that Thundurus. That was an extremely tough play to make. And we almost clawed it back. We really almost did. But Uzi just had a great game plan from the front right out the gate and was able to take us out. If that Meteor Mash had landed on the Delmise, would have been nice, but I'm not going to act like it was going to totally change the outcome. Because he still had that Gallade in the back, which could sweep a lot of my team. And even the Scarf Thundy was going to be difficult to deal with. Like a Scarf HP Ice at that point could have potentially dealt with me before I got up Rocks. Like after I got up Rocks, then like Rocks plus Ice Shard was going to be able to deal with him. But yeah, he could have potentially got himself in a situation where that could win. Or even like Scarf Dark Pulse. Like I don't think Crobat was necessarily going to take its Scarf Dark Pulse from like 25% HP, which it was at one point in the match. So that was pretty spooky. Yeah, it's just really not frustrating. It's disappointing, I guess, because I think this is a game that we played relatively well when we lost. Which, I'm happy to take the L as long as I feel like it was a good game and that we both played well. It just stinks because now this is the 5th game in a row that we've lost between 2 leagues. And I'm just hoping that at some point we can turn these close games in our favor for once. So, am I going to be really upset if I keep losing? I'm not going to be really upset. Am I going to be happier if I finally catch a W? Yes, for sure. So, with that, shoutouts to Uzi. You definitely exacted your revenge after that unfortunate game with the Weavile versus my Mence. He's, I think, 6-2 now, so he's definitely on track for playoffs. He's going to be a major contender. I do not envy the person who has to fight versus him. And we're going to go into Week 9 looking at a 3-5 record. We have an outside chance at playoffs. Very outside. If we can win our last 2 games and we get some help from Omega Jolteon or Deebz. Because I think at the top of the conference is Hera. And I don't remember who else exactly. I don't think Uzi's in my conference. I can look it up real quick. But basically, we need to win out and then get some help in order to advance. And even if we do advance, like, we're gonna end up going up against Hera in the playoffs, and he bodied us earlier this season. So I'm gonna need some major change in strats. But I can't even think that far ahead because I really just need to survive. Also, Keegan is 4-4, so I got 3 folks ahead of me. Fortunately, I do play Keegan next week. So if I can catch a W versus him, I do have a better differential than him. And so that would put me in at least 5th place. And then if one of Deebz or Omega loses, we'll start to be neck and neck. But they both have better differentials than me, even if I do win next week. So I'll need at least one of them to lose out, and then I need to win out to make playoffs most likely. So gonna be a tough one. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like I said, I've had a fun season. Had a bunch of good games versus had a very good game versus Omega week 1. Very fun games versus Uzi. Very fun game versus Tone. It's been a good time. So we'll see what happens. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening to me go over these scenarios and sort of just ramble about my not my rotten luck, but my rotten streak. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. And one last thing too, if you haven't already checked it out, I've got one more day going on for my subscriber giveaway, giving away a bunch of Steam keys, so please check that out. Would really appreciate it. All that being said, thank you for watching. Make sure you check the channel for other gaming Pokemon content. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.